Happy video day, guys, and happy Make Up Your Mind day. It looks like Viseart decided to release another warm tone palette. I know we have seen a lot of warm tones, and I bet you we all own a lot of warm tones, but when I saw this palette released from Viseart, I went, oh, you're pretty. So it's called the Spritz Edit, and if you guys know, I love those edit palettes because I like to take them out and put them in other Z palettes and like rearrange them. But I was actually pretty excited when I saw this one released because I like the color story. But like you guys know, I'm on a mission to not add redundant colors to my collection because I just feel like I have so many eyeshadow palettes at this point, and I know a lot of you guys feel the same, that I haven't really used or I keep on neglecting because, I don't know, I'm forgetting all the colors that I have, or I'm forgetting what colors are in certain palettes. So when I saw this one release, I was like, you know what, I need to do a Make Up Your Mind on it. I'm not just gonna go out and purchase it. These little tiny palettes are $39 US, but I will tell you guys that Viseart has an amazing formula that I truly really love. But that being said, that does not mean that I need to go out and purchase it without giving it like a second thought. So if you guys are new to Make Up Your Mind, what we do in this series is I look through my collection and I try to find similar hues in my collection based off the swatches that the brand releases. Before I go and purchase a new eyeshadow palette, I like to swatch it on my arm, get an idea of what the color story looks like, see if it's a color story I would use, and also to see if I have palettes that already have a lot of the colors to see if it's worth it for me to pick up. So if you guys are excited for this video, now's the time to hit the subscribe button if you've never seen me before and you want to see me again, and also give me those likes so I know that you like this video. And let's start getting to swatching. Let me show you guys everything I found, and let's get into it right now. The first thing, like always, let me show you guys the results. So I want to tell you guys that off the bat, I feel like a lot of the colors I was able to find. There is some colors that are not perfect to the tone, but for this Make Up Your Mind, I only wanted to jump into 3 palettes because I felt like a majority of the colors were coming out of primarily 2 palettes. And I didn't want to add any more in because I felt like, can I create a color story similar to this with these 2 and 1 extra, but I only got 1 color from 2 palettes basically. I wanted to see if I can create a real color story. Like, can I create these eye looks using these palettes? So that's what I decided to do for this Make Up Your Mind. So let me go ahead and show you guys the palettes. I got 1 tone, only 1, and I just decided to throw this one in because I just really felt like the tone matched this color better, from Soft Glam from Anastasia. Only 1 tone. All the rest of the colors were a combination of 2 different palettes. The first one being the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette, and the last one being the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. So between those 3 palettes is where I found all of these colors. Like I said, not exact, but pretty damn close. So let's start off with the first color, and the first color I actually jumped into Metropolis, and I didn't really think, guys, that I was gonna use Metropolis that much. I pulled it out just because of some of these yellow glittery kind of metallic shades that I saw going on here that I remembered were in Metropolis, but I didn't realize how many colors were actually gonna come out of here. So for the first color, I decided to grab this color called Rope. Now, the one that's inside of the new palette from Viseart, I feel like might be a little bit cooler tone than this color. When I looked at the swatches from Viseart, I just remembered seeing a little bit of a yellowy undertone, and the only palette that I remembered having like a taupe that had like a yellowy undertone was this one. So I do feel like those colors are gonna look pretty close. The one in the Metropolis may be a tad darker, but once everything's blended and everything's on top of that base color, I think they're gonna look pretty similar. So for the next color, I actually was looking at Metropolis and I go, ooh, this tone right here looks really, really similar. It has a little bit like an orangey yellow vibe going. And when I swatched it, I was like, oh gosh, that looks really, really, really close to what I think is gonna be inside this new Spritz palette. And it's going within that kind of like orangey yellow orangey yellow vibe that I see going on in here. Very pretty, but I didn't realize how much of that type of coloration was really inside of Metropolis until now. So the next color I actually was looking at the Natasha Denona Sunrise, and I looked at this color called Morning. And Morning I actually remembered because just recently I was looking for a color like this one, and I found it inside of Soft Glam, but this one looks a little bit more like the color inside of the Spritz palette, and I do feel like those two colors are going to be pretty similar. The one that's inside of the Sunrise may go a little bit more yellow, whereas the one that's inside of the Spritz palette might go a little orange, but I do think that they're gonna look pretty similar. Now the next one, I jumped right back into Handy Dandy Metropolis that was sitting right in front of me, and I saw this color Pure right here, and it has like that little bit of like an orangey brown color, which I started to remember that Metropolis had like more of these grungy kind of orangey kind of toned browns and stuff, and I was like, ooh, I remember that tone. Now I think that that color might be pretty similar in color to the color that's inside the Viseart palette, so I'm already kind of like seeing this color story, and I will tell you guys the color story is really pretty. It's a really pretty color story, but I'm already kind of seeing it inside of Metropolis mainly. Okay, so this next color I feel like is like the focal point inside of the new Viseart palette. Like, I feel like this one's like an important color. And when I was looking at the Metropolis, I found this color called Fuse. Fuse reminds me of it because it's like a yellow orange and it's still metallic. It's a very unique color, and I do think that the color that's inside the Viseart is very unique. But if you have the Metropolis palette, you already kind of have like that really cool color. And I don't think all of us go around putting this type of tone all over the lids all the time. I'm sure we use it, but it's not like one of those go-to colors. For me, it's very pretty, but I feel like I have it, and I feel like I have a lot of it in Metropolis. And I mean, can we say Natasha Denona's formula is not amazing? I mean, it is. So then the next color, so now here's where it gets a little different. However, like I said, I wanted to stick to these palettes. I'm looking at this color right here inside of Metropolis called Ripe. Now, if you look at Ripe, it has a similar tone. I think that the one inside of the new Viseart palette might be even more orange than this. Like vibrant, a little bit more like a vibrant orange, whereas this one might be a little bit more of a toned down orange. But I will say, I think that when this color is used, it's primarily going to be used as a deepening shade on the lid to kind of do like one of those sunrise kind of looking eyes. And I don't think it's like a predominant color that you're going to use. And between the two shades, in my opinion, I think that they're not going to make a huge difference. The Viseart one might be a tad brighter, and this Metropolis one might be a tad darker. But I think that they're gonna do like a very similar color story. Next one, I was looking at a few different palettes, and then I just ended up saying, you know what, inside of the Sunrise, there's this color called Day Spring. And when I swatched this one, and when I did the swatch of it, I was like, ooh, that looks so much like Fizz. Like, it really has a brown kind of color that swings a little bit peach. It looks really close to this Fizz color. Like, I feel like they're going to be pretty close, especially from the Viseart swatch. So for that color, I really feel like I have that one, and the one in the Sunrise is just so good. Okay, so then I had to move on. So the next one was pretty vibrant and pretty, and I was actually thinking that I didn't own it because I was like, well, how many colors have I already pulled out of Metropolis? I looked at this very yellow tone here called Imperia, and when I swatched it, I was like, wait a minute, this has a similar tone. I feel like the one that's in the Viseart might swing a little bit more orange, and this one might be a little bit more yellow. So was I able to find this one 100%? I don't think so. But I feel like for the kind of color that you're expecting to get out of here, I think you want it to pull more yellow, and I feel like the yellow shift is going to be the predominant color in the Viseart. So I feel like if you have that Imperia color, it may look similar when applied. Like, that's just like what I can see from the color story. But then here we go. So the next one was one of the ones that I will tell you I had a harder time finding. I was looking at the Sunrise palette, and I saw this color called Laurel. Laurel looks similar. Like, when it's swatched and when you put them together, they look really similar. What I don't know 100% is if the one that's in the Viseart is a tad bit darker. but swatched together, they have a very similar tone. So I'm thinking that this one might be pretty close. I just don't know if the Viseart one may be a tad darker. But now the next one, this is the one that I ended up just pulling the Soft Glam for. Now I do feel like I was able to kind of find this color in this color right here from the Metropolis, but I decided to just pull Soft Glam because I felt like it was a tad darker. Inside this color Sultry in Soft Glam, I feel like this is where you're getting that type of tone, and I do feel like that is going to be pretty damn spot on. Like when I swatched the color Sultry from Soft Glam and I looked at the swatch coming out of Viseart, I was like, wait a minute, these are really close. So I definitely think that that's a very, very similar tone for me. So I was kind of like, okay, I feel like at this point I've got 2 colors left and I'm loving the color story right now, but it's starting to make me realize how much I should be using this one. And I have told you guys, one of my complaints about this palette is that I don't use it enough. And I'm starting to see like, this is a color story I'm very attracted to and I'm not using this palette. So, you know, it makes you start thinking. So the next one is another one that is a little bit, I think, brighter than what I found. But what I decided to do was jump into Jasper from Sunrise and add Morgan on top. When these two mix together, it becomes a lighter orange. However, I do think that the color inside of the Viseart one is a little unique in the sense that I feel like it pulls more orange and more of like a bright orange. So was I able to find this color exact? I was not. But that's okay because it depends on whether you love this color or not. And I've told you guys with oranges, I don't tend to use orange as much as I feel like I probably could. I just definitely don't. I really like this color coming out of the Viseart one, and I would say like out of all the colors that I have swatched so far, my favorite one so far in the Viseart palette is this color that I don't own because it's a really cool color. So, and you know, honestly, going back and thinking about it, maybe if I would have pulled out my Morphe 3502, I bet you I could have found this color and the other one. I think I'm going to do that after I go through this. So now for the last color, what I ended up deciding to do is this one looked a little bit bright, like a bright burgundy. So I ended up just saying that between this color Clove right here looks pretty similar, but I added a little bit of Jasper on top just to brighten up that deepness a little bit and make it a little bit less purple and a little bit more burgundy. And I feel like those two colors mixed together does create a similar tone. Not exact, but pretty damn similar. But now my mind is just thinking of that 3502 palette. So 1 minute, let me look at it. And now I know why I didn't pull it out, because these big palettes, I always have to store them so low. And oh my gosh, guys, come on, I have to have this color. Like, come on, I have this color. So it's probably this one right here. So yeah, that one is probably going to give me a really similar tone to the Grenada one. Yup. Job. And the Spritz one, we probably can go into like something like this one that's a little bit more orange. And we've got a Spritz. Yeah, I definitely think those two colors that are very orange that I decided to kind of like create them, I probably could have just pulled them out of 3502 and I would have had it for sure. I basically have these tones. I mean, you've seen them all, right? Now, swatched on my arm, the color story, actually really pretty. It's a really nice color story. So this is the point where I have to like decide if this is worth it for me or not. And I will tell you guys, this one gave me a little bit of a harder time. And I know some of you guys are probably going, what? You just said most of them are coming out of Metropolis and Sunrise. Why would this give you a hard time? And the only reason is because I like to take these little palettes apart and mix them and create like little big palettes. So anytime these edit palettes come out, I kind of just want to buy them because I want to like take them apart. So it gave me a hard time because I kind of wanted to do that. But at the end of the day, I've got to make up my mind, and I'm going to make up my mind the smart way and say that I really do not need this palette. It is so beautiful. And if you guys are looking for one of those warm tone palettes and you don't own any of the palettes that I just mentioned, now now you guys kind of know the color story, and the color story is actually gorgeous. I think it's going to create beautiful lancette eyes, very orange and red, like a very summery, very spritzy, like they're saying, like an orange spritz. And I think it's going to create some really pretty lids. But of course, if you guys own this palette and you own this palette, you've got so many of these shades and you paid a lot of money for these two palettes. So do I think you need to add it? You probably do not. The only reason that you would add it is because you want those vibrant oranges, which I like the palette, but I definitely think that this has to be a skipper for me. You know, in a different time, in a different era, when I was spending money like crazy, maybe I would have said, just buy it, you need it. I mean, but like always, guys, I want to know from you guys down below, if you were able to find a better color, leave it down below, because everybody likes to read the comments and they like to see what other people found, because not everybody owns my palettes. They might own the palettes that you guys are looking in and trying to find them on your own. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I think I'm gonna have two Visearts back to back, or I'll try to throw one in the middle, but there's another Viseart palette that I had to do because I was really interested in it, and it'll probably post after this one. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.